Even the players in the Buccaneers admit they couldn't have foreseen the forbidden romance plot that was introduced in Season 2. Theo, Duke of Tintagel, played by Guy Remmers, and Lizzy Elmsworth, played by Aubri Ibrag, briefly glanced at each other during their encounters in the first few episodes of the most recent season, raising the possibility that they were attracted to one another. However, since Theo married her close friend Nan, Kristine Froseth, previous season, it seemed that Lizzy and Theo were only platonic. In the Season 2 opener, Lizzy began courting Hector Robinson, played by Jacob Ifan. When Lizzy excitedly went up to Theo during a tense scene in Episode 3 to inform him that Hector had proposed, the Duke had a peculiar reaction. He told Lizzy that her fiancé was entirely unworthy of her, rather than just congratulating her. He described Lizzy as sensational and went on to say that living with Hector would be pleasant, which left her essentially stunned and signaled a noticeable change in their chemistry. In Episode 4, Ice Cream, they abruptly took action on their developing sentiments by kissing passionately and covertly during one of Hector's parties. Lizzy appeared to reconsider her choice and fled, only to reunite with Theo at his castle later. A sultry sex scene featuring the two of them entwined in his bed linens marked the end of the program. You weren't the only one who was a little taken aback by the conclusion. Ibrag tells Today.com that when their characters abruptly went from being friends to having an affair, she was first surprised. I thought, I guess this kind of makes sense, when I got the scripts and stuff, she adds. We don't really interact in the first season, so I don't think either of us expected it. Like, she continues. Just a little bit, like when I say hello in the background. However, it was rather unexpected. According to Remmers, both characters' paths have been comparable thus far, even if they didn't contact throughout the previous season. He says, they're both characters who were stung by love and were kind of unfairly wronged in the first season. Ibrag adds, by the people they trusted the most. Just that, he adds. So, it actually made sense that these two people would find each other when we started reading the episodes. Ibrag goes on to discuss a sequence from Episode 2 that some fans believe hinted at the romantic turn of the season. Theo gives Lizzy, Nan, and Hector a tour of his estate during the episode. Hold on, what about Nan? In a quiet moment, Theo confides in Lizzy that he occasionally hears Nan sobbing by herself in her chamber, adding, I think my wife has a broken heart. Theo later takes the party to see his family's tomb and the lengthy queue of people buried there. Fans on X noticed that as Theo talked about where his wife will be buried, the camera shifted to Lizzy after the show aired. Ibrag claims she realized there was a connection between the characters after seeing that scenario. For me and the plot, that seems to be the point at which Lizzy realizes that Theo has a wound. Additionally, she says, I think Theo probably recognizes that wound in Lizzy somehow. She claims that after that, the two were able to forge a deep emotional bond that eventually led to a love partnership. Given Lizzy's unbreakable link with Nan, some fans may wonder why she did what she did this season, but Ibrag says she has been enjoying discovering new facets of her character in Season 2. She seemed to bury everything in the first season and swallow her tongue a lot more, in my opinion. However, this season, I believe we see a side of her that says, wait, I also deserve happiness and love and all of those things, Ibrag adds. She's simply more barbaric. She teases, she's more of a savage girl, especially towards the end. However, I continue to believe that she has a very good heart and that all of her affair-related behavior stems from sincere affection and affection. Fans have witnessed various facets of Theo's personality as well as Lizzy's growth in self-assurance and boldness. He starts to spiral and dances in Episode 4 before interfering with Hector's event. Remmers can relate to Theo and recognizes the dubious choices that he and other characters have made thus far in Season 2.